Welcome back, everybody, to the Bitcoin Business Bureau. I'm your host, as always, LitecoinLeader. Today, we got a little bit of news to share. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Divi project and reflect on the AMA last night. I hope you caught it. If not, I'm going to be putting a link right up here. I was there for an hour with my good friend, Divi Daddy, Patrick, and we talked about the Divi project. We talked about a lot of things in the crypto space, economy, everything, and it was a good show. And I thought there were a lot of good questions. I'd say several people, I'd say 20 to 30 people would stop by, which was good numbers, I think, and it's only growing from there. But I wanted to give a sample every month for what we do on my Patreon channel, so that people could see what the AMAs are all about. And it was a pretty lively crowd. We had good responses, good dialogues back and forth. And of course, we talked about Divi. So more on that will be coming, but we were talking a little bit about the news today. We have to, because Divi announced this morning that their partnership with La Liga. Now, La Liga is arguably the largest soccer league. It's comparable to the English Premier League. They're very, 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 very close as far as their viewership and also skill levels. Some people think the English Premier League is a little bit better. Some like La Liga a little bit more. La Liga used to have Ronaldo, and used to have Messi, which were two of the biggest players. Now Ronaldo has moved on to the Premier League, and I think Messi is in the Italian league, which I can't pronounce that one. It's like I think Liga A or Series A is what they call that one. But those are the three biggest leagues. But clearly, La Liga sponsorship, not just with one team, but with the entire league. So now all 20 teams that are in the league are going to be have visibility to all their fans, and probably on their kits, which is their uniform. I understand that's what the Brits call it, but the uniforms are going to have probably the Divi logo on them. So it is a major sponsorship, and it's a major partnership. And this is comparable to what Crypto.com is doing stateside with the UFC and their sponsorship of the Staples Center. It's arguably about the same size, and we know how big Crypto.com is right now. And we saw the move that happened with CRO coin moving, I think, from 50 cents to about 75 when the Staples Center's new rebranding came out. So now the price is going down a little bit on Divi this morning, because as I've been alluding to all week, there's a lot of, it's always pretty much played out this way: buy the rumor, sell the news. So people are taking profits now. That's not a bad thing for Divi at all. In fact, it's pretty good, because now there's going to be a little bit more liquidity for people to get in, and a lot of people are wanting to get in. I'm getting a lot of contact, as I know Divi Daddy is, about people wanting to get into the project, into into Divi. There's too many Vivas and Divis, and the names are too similar. But La Liga and Divi, and of course Viva Capital, all work together. But it's a big deal today. If you've seen Nick Sapinaro's Twitter, you can see how exuberant he is. He's got a great photo of him holding a soccer ball, but with a huge smile that he's trying to hold back, but he just can't. So it's big news. And yes, the prices are probably going to pull back for the next couple of days. But the big question is, where is Divi going to go, and where are coins like that going to go? Now, I've talked about this with several people, including Divi Daddy and a few others, about what I've noticed as far as trends, but it was a theory. I didn't prove it, but my theory was that coins move faster at certain price points, meaning that they will move from 50 cents to $1 much faster than they will move from a quarter to 50 cents. But that was just conjecture. I needed to do a little bit of proof. So I spent all morning this morning doing a little bit of research on some coins, and I pulled together a few charts and some numbers. So let me share them with you now, and we'll draw some conclusions, I hope. So here we go. Just a quick reminder that nothing in this video is considered financial advice. I am not your financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Seek out your own advice and do your own diligence, do your own research. So this is a spreadsheet I put together, and what I did was I used a lot of TradingView. I went to each coin. I started with Matic, and I looked at the Matic's price history for the last year or so, and I wanted to look for general trends, the movement from a dime to 20 cents, from 10 to 20 cents, or $1 to $2, and I categorized prices in three different zones: 1 to 2, 2 to 5, and 5 to 10. 1 to 2 is clearly a double. 5 to 10 is clearly another double. 2 to 5 is it's not fair. It's a little more than a double. I didn't want to do a quarter to 50 cents, but I thought that was a reason. I looked at it both, and I really didn't see much difference measuring from 2 to 5 versus 2.5 to 5. And I did that for every decade of the coins I looked at, meaning that if the coin is now at $10, I looked at it from as far back as I could with reasonable data. I would look from 10 cents to 20 cents, 20 cents to 50 cents, 50 cents to $1. And then I did the same thing from $1 to 10, the same three breakdowns. So that's why I look for trends. So Matic, went back, noticed this one back in the beginning of the year, that it just skyrocketed once you got above 50 cents. You can see here it is at 50 cents, and we saw how fast it shot up. So going to the chart, so here's Matic summarized. So I couldn't get good data below 5 cents. So what I did was I went from 5 cents to 10 cents, 10 to 20, and so on. And then I calculated the date. Now these are approximate dates. I did the best I could using the charts, but I used the daily close and see where they were when they crossed these price points. So in 13 days, for example, Matic went from a dime to 20 cents. And then it took another 56 days to get from 20 cents to 50 cents. And it only took just a shade over 2 weeks to get from 50 cents to $1. And then $1 to $2 was another just over a week. It was only 8 days. So that seems to fit my trend, but we'll draw conclusions at the end. So now I was like, okay, let's look at another coin I was looking back at in the first quarter of 2021, which was Atom. So Atom, the chart looks like this. And this is what 2020 and beyond, the data is pretty jumbled here. Atom really launched, and they have their own blockchains. They launched around $5 back in 2019, launched out, and then they broke over 10 quickly. And then it took a while for them to get from 10. They never even got over 50. So still waiting for that event. But they broke over $10. Looks to be in the February time zones. Let's see what I included here. Yes. So in February, it went from, it was at $10 on February 4th, and it was at $20 on February 11th. So in just a matter of a week, it went from $10 to $20. So the third coin I looked at was Theta. And the trend here that I'm looking at is I'm looking at coins that are either they started their own blockchain or they wound up there. In other words, Matic was originally an ERC, but now they are their own blockchain. Atom and Theta, Theta was originally an ERC as well. Now they're on their own blockchain. So Theta, it's clearly I just have to zoom back out, but it just rocketed up once it got above $2 and went up to $15. So I went through all the data here and grabbed the numbers. So Theta, for a while, this was a little bit tougher one, because when you look at the numbers, there were certain spots on this chart where Theta kind of languished. It kind of it hung around. Let me go back to the chart row again. Sorry, bouncing around, but that's what we're going to do. So Theta kind of churned here around the $2 line, and it churned again. It churned a lot here in the 50 cent zone. So when you look at the data, the 50 cent to $1 is going to take a long time because of that churn. So for example, 50 cents to $1 took 120 days, and it took 96 days to get from 20 cents to 50 cents. But then once it got over $1, it really started to break out. From $1 to $2, it was 11 days. And then it took 66 days to get from 2 to 5, but then it zoomed up again to 10 2 weeks later. So I'm starting to see a trend that there are certain hot zones and cold zones, but I wanted to go a little bit further. Now I wanted to include another coin or two to get more data, but I also wanted to include a coin that went back as far beyond 2017. So I looked at Cardano because I remember seeing Cardano, and that's the example I've been saying a lot, is that when it broke above 50 cents, it really took off, which it did in 2020, in 2021, early 2021. But this part out here back in the history of 2017 played a factor. And I think that a lot of people have been holding for years and we're starting to cash out, which held it back. And then once it got it past its all-time high, that's when it really took off. So that would probably be I think you call that a corollary, corollary, easy for me to say, or a second addendum to my theory. It's been a while since I've done theories and theses and processes and stuff like that, but probably like an addendum to the concept, so that once, not only do you have to get to hot zones, but you also have to clear the previous all-time high if it's long ago. So if I go to Cardano, the chart is not as conclusive on the dates. From 10 to 20 cents took a long time, took half a year, but 20 to 50 cents, 50 cents to $1 moved much faster, and then $1 to $2 took a longer time. So if I go back and look at the chart for Cardano and I zoom out to say a 5-year, right, and that $1 to $2 zone is really impeded by that peak back here in 2017, where people may have been cashing out, and you could see how long it took to get from $1 to $2. This is a weekly chart, by the way. So you took weeks to get above $1 and break into the $2 zone, because a lot of the people had to wash out that were holding on since $1 early on. And then just when you get to all-time highs, that's when it started to take off and forge new ground again. So that was Cardano. And there was one more thing that I really wanted to add, which is the big boy, which is Bitcoin. So what I went to one of my favorite charts, which is the rainbow chart. And the rainbow chart has 3 different charts. You have the history of Bitcoin prices, and you've got Bitcoin prices going back to 2013 here. A little hard to read in this chart, and they do have some zones that zoom in on the bottom here, but I went back to 2013 because it's really hard to read below 1,000, and it did. But I noticed that Bitcoin tends to retrace with these psychological numbers, and that's part of the theory is. Oh, I also went to Yahoo and downloaded data back to 2014 so I could have more accurate data. So let's look at this, and then we'll start to draw some conclusions here. So Bitcoin, the Bitcoin tab. So looking at Bitcoin back to the $500 to $1,000 range. It took only 13 days to get from $1,000 from $500 back in 2013. And then it took over 3 years to get to $2,000 because it pulled back from 1,000. And then it kind of a medium to get to from 2 to 5, half a year, more like 5 months. And then it took about just under 7 weeks to get to 10 grand. And then if you remember back in 2017, it got really close to 20K, then pulled back. It took 3 years to get back there. And it was December of 2020. So there's lots of information here. There's lots of zones. What I tend to see, and I'm going to go back to Matic as the example, and I'll go with a summary here. I see hot zones from 5 to, again, the 3 categories. We have moving from 1 to 2. Either it could be $1 to $2. It could be 1 to 2 dimes, 1 to 2 pennies. I didn't go back to the penny side, but 10 cents to 20 cents, $1 to $2, $10 to $20, 1,000 to 2,000. And I categorize for Matic, Atom, and Theta. 1 to 2 is a fast zone, and that's where they tend to move quickly. From 2 to 5, it's a slow area, and then it moves quickly again from 5 to 10. Typically, there was one slow area for Theta, and that just I think that was the 50 cents to $1 because it languished there for a little while in that 60 cents area. And then you factor in Cardano. Cardano is not quite the same. It does say that it moves fast from 5 to 10, 50 cents to $1, but it slows down. It slowed down from the $1 to $2 range and the 10 to 20 cent range because of that 2017 lot of legacy owners that were holding it back, it seems. So, and then Bitcoin, it doesn't move fast. Bitcoin does not move fast. It tends to move rather slow. But if you're going to pick one zone that might be fast, it would be the zone from 500 to 1,000, or 5,000 to 10,000. So my early conclusions are this, which is at the bottom of this chart, which is that for the alts, which is not Bitcoin, the 1 to 2 zone tends to be a fast zone, especially if it's new territory, meaning that kind of captures what's going on with Cardano, with the fact that they had to breach that all-time high. The area from 2 to 5 tends to be slower, but 5 to 10 again tends to be a ramp up. So, and Bitcoin in general tends to move more sluggishly, as you might expect. It's the big boy in town. It's over half the market roughly, and it's all encompassing, and it takes a lot of capital to move the price at times, or a lot of interest on a lot of action. So that's the data. Then I'm just going to wrap this up here, and let's go back to my conclusions of what I kind of drew from this data and what comes next. So there we have it. I looked at 5 different projects, including Bitcoin, and I saw that the 1 to 2 zone, the 10 cents to 20 cents, the $1 to $2, the $10 to $20, seems to be a faster moving zone. Also for the alts, the 5 to 10 zone also seems to move well, which means if like 50 cents to $2 is like kind of a sweet spot to be in a project, because it kind of goes back to the psychological and the way the humans operate. It's the same reason that people are more interested in buying Bitcoin when it's at an all-time high versus when it's on sale. When you have upwards momentum and things have a positive trend, people tend to FOMO in and the price goes up. Also, people want to see their money double. So 50 cents to $1 is a good psychological double. And then people like, oh, it's $1? That's a game changer, because now you're recategorizing the project. It's no longer a penny coin, it's at 10 cents. It's no longer no longer below $1, it's above $1. That's a new marketplace. It's a new zone. So people want to jump in, and they're often happy to double their money. So 1 to 2, it tends to be like, hey, it'll move quickly there, and then it'll slow down, and then it'll pick up speed again at the 5 to 10 range as it heads to the next decade up on the log scale. So that's the trend I'm seeing. That was my theory, and now I've kind of proven it with the projects I've looked at. And the projects I chose, again, were projects that were they've been around since 2018 or so. They have their own blockchains, aside from Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin's been around longer and they have their own blockchain, but you get what I'm saying as far as picking out the alts. But I did pick out Cardano, which kind of had that same kind of behavior in 2020 and 2021, but had some issues competing with its 2017 version of getting over its all-time high. So adding to that theory is you want to look back at historical data, clear that all-time high. But once you clear that all-time high, moving in that 5 to 10 zone and that 10 to 20 zone, so call it from 50 cents to $2, seems to be a sweet spot. And the data seems to prove that out. But I want to put it back to you now. Let's leave some comments below. What other projects should we look at? Have you seen this elsewhere? Are there projects that prove other contrarian views? Are there projects that say, no, this doesn't hold water? Maybe we need to improve this theory so that we can, because we want to apply this going forward. Speaking of which, bring it all into one concept today. Back to Divi. Divi broke. It went from 5 cents to 10 cents. I'm going to look real quick. I had that number. I think it was 16 days. Yes, it was 16 days that it went from just this past month in November. 26 days, I'm sorry. From the 3rd of November to the 29th of November, it went from 5 cents to 10 cents. And then it surged up to 18 cents last night. And then when the news broke, it started to fall back. Now, that's not a terrible thing, but we could see, I think we will see a push up to about 20 to 25 cents. And then it's going to take a while to really get to that 50 cent level. And then once it gets to 50 cents, it will start to accelerate again up to that dollar range. So I like the project. I like the team. I think that the sponsorship of the Liga is going to add a lot of eyeballs and a lot of marketplace, a lot of people that are joining in the Divi community, which will only add to the value of the project, because the other part of this is that their coin's a little bit harder to get. It's a little bit, it's more scarce, and also because many people hold it, stake it, and put it in masternodes. So that shorter supply, once people have taken profits now, could accelerate the price upwards. Well, that's, no one can predict the future here, but I think that the coin is definitely trending in the right direction, both with the news here and also the general price trend. Don't worry about a one-day pullback for profit taking if it's a week. If it falls back to 10 cents, that's not a bad sign. That is just a healthy retrace. As I've said many times, a 50% pullback is a good retrace. And we had a solid baseline of 6 or 7 cents, went up to 18. So a good middle point is around 10 to 12 cents. It could retrace to that. That would be healthy. And I wouldn't be concerned even if it went back at just 8 or 9 cents, because I think this product is going to be strong. And with La Liga adding Divi to the fold, I think it's going to be upwards. But what do you guys think about my general conclusions about the data that I have from these projects? Is 50 cents to $1 a hot spot? Is it $1 to $2 the better hot spot? Is 20 cents to 50 cents in a void zone? What do you think? Are there projects that you have and examples that you have? Leave them in the comments. And as always, like, subscribe, join my Patreon. Today's the second best day of the month to do so. You can get more access to those AMAs and more questions from me and more content. And with all that said, I'm going to close the door of the bureau, and I'll see you next time.